Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the program today, recently, the First Lady's remarks about the job of First Lady caused quite a stir. Today, we will continue that discussion. Randi Thompson has the rundown.
Well, we're not going to let Sam sit on this panel. It's an all-female panel. We have Elisa Mazer, Lisa Kelly, Mary Lau, Susan Fisher, and myself talking about women in politics, education, and business.
And coming up on the all-male Power Pundit panel today, Wayne Frediani, Michael Hackett, and Bob Barengo. It's all coming up next on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the world's largest industrial park, the resort at Red Hawk, and the Peppermill family of casinos.
Corporations moving to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center require reliable power, fiber optic communication, and clean water sources. And yet, there's another amenity we're very proud of here at TRI, rail service. So far, we've built over 2 miles of railroad track, and another 3.6 is under construction. When companies need to transport freight, we're going to help them move it quickly and efficiently. Welcome to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the largest industrial park in the world, building economic prosperity for Nevadans.
The resort at Red Hawk offers you 2 great dining choices. Experience David's Grill and Sports Bar or the Steakhouse at Red Hawk. The Steakhouse has received the Wine Spectator Award of Excellence based on a diverse selection of fine wines. To accompany the wines, the Steakhouse serves certified Angus beef steaks in a variety of cuts, fresh fish, chicken, and pasta dishes. For fun and casual dining, come to David's Grill and Sports Bar. David's is open 7 days a week, serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The resort at Red Hawk. Always the right choice.
As an employer, did you know you can be held liable for negligent hiring? A background screening by Employer Links can uncover criminal records, like alcohol and drug convictions. It can verify the applicant's education, driving records, and professional licenses. Employer Links can check civil records, registered sex offender records, and Social Security fraud. Hiring the right person shouldn't be a gamble. Call Employer Links. Employer Links, protecting your investment.
So, who do you use for workers' comp?
Pro Group Management.
Ah, I've heard some good things about them.
Oh, you bet. Employee background checks, safety training, claim seminars. Oh, and here's the great part. If you have an issue, they work for you, not against you.
Sounds perfect. And expensive.
Well, that's the best part. They saved me 30%. I've heard they saved others 50%.
Works for me. Pro Group Management. Finally, workers' comp that works for you.
You are watching Nevada Newsmakers.
Well, welcome to Nevada Newsmakers, and it's an interesting panel today already. It's an all-female panel, so we've given Sam the boot. He's still listening, though, so we have to behave ourselves. I'm joined today by Elisa Mazer, who is a project consultant, Mary Lau, the head of the Retail Association for Nevada, Dr. Lisa Kelly, who's the site administrator and director of academic programs at Morrison University, and Susan Fisher with Fisher Consulting. So what the genesis of this was, ladies, was Sam was saying how all these comments about Dima versus Dawn were being made by men. So he wanted to have a woman's perspective. And I think we've all decided we don't want to talk about women's issues. We're talking about the Niners. So I'll start at the end with Alyssa. Obviously, being the daughter, great-granddaughter of Barbara Vukanovich, you've seen women in politics for all your life, your mother being Patty Caffaretta.
Right.
So your perspective on this First Lady's role?
My initial take on it is it's what you're seeing is a generational difference. When Dima is much more of a traditional woman and Dawn is much more of a, grew up in an age where, you know, it was expected that you would work and have kids, and somehow you managed to get all that done. And so I think a lot of it's just generational.
Interesting. Mary?
I think it's much ado about nothing. Personally, both spouses wish the highest and best good for each other. If you're in a truly functional marriage and everything else, you're supporting everything your husband does and cautioning him on things, but it's up to him to make those decisions. And your husband supports you in what you do. He may caution you on your decisions, but he's not going to get in the way of one. So you work together. I don't believe in man's work and women's work. It's just work. And I agree there's some generational stuff there, but I don't know that it's traditional. I think it was tried to be turned in traditional. Tribal was never that way. Tribal women took care of their kids up to a certain point, and then the grandmothers and older people took care of the kids while they went out and did the work. So somewhere along the line we just split it up between man's work and women's work, and there's just work.
It really wasn't a sexual basis. It wasn't. It wasn't a sexual performance there.
No, you want what's highest and best good for your spouse, for your kids,
family,
for your friends. That's it.
Yeah. Well, Lisa's new to our pundit panel and to Newsmakers, so welcome. But being in academia, you might have a different perspective. But how have you viewed this feud, as it's being called?
Well, you keep mentioning a key word, and that's perspective. And while Dima, I believe, is describing her perspective of the role of the First Lady relative to all other roles, we shape our perspectives. And becoming a woman in any a professional woman in any fashion, whether it be in politics, in the public eye, or it be in your own private world with your family, or in your own chosen profession. We are going to shape that reality. And then we're going to describe that reality through our perspective. So what Dima has done is describe her reality through her perspective and kind of projected that onto the expectation of what is going to actually come to fruition. And we shall see what will come to fruition.
Do you feel that she has a right to her perspective?
Absolutely.
But the mistake was projecting her perspective onto somebody else.
I don't know that it was her perspective. It could have, I mean, or it was her mistake.
Okay.
It could be our mistake in assuming that what she is describing as her perspective is reality, and it isn't. It is yet to be seen. And so that's what's exciting. People often say, Lisa, how did you do this? How did you have, a family with 5 and get your advanced degree and go to school and also have a profession the whole time? We do what we do. We are survivors. We do what we do, and then I shape that perspective. And all of a sudden that becomes the reality. So we have to look at that as it's yet to be seen, and we shall see how it is done, and then that will become someone else's reality.
Interesting.
I don't think it's a weekend job, but I think the bigger issue here is an ethics issue. When the entertaining is going on in the governor's mansion, is it going to be Congresswoman Gibbons? Let's just assume that they're both elected. Is it Congresswoman Gibbons who is using the state budget to entertain in the governor's mansion, or is it First Lady Gibbons? How is that going to play out? And I think it's going to be a bookkeeping nightmare.
That will be a challenge. Now, we don't have a requirement to even have a first spouse, nor do we have any kind of job description.
It's not an elected position.
Exactly, and that's why much ado about nothing in our position, in our case here, because whatever you create of that office and make of that office, it is your choice. There's a fascinating new book out, Hidden Power, by Katie Martin, all about the first ladies in the White House through the history of America, and how each of them did something very differently. What was interesting to me, the most frightening, was that Jackie Kennedy was 31 years old when she was First Lady. And, being in my 40s, that's just fascinating that, someone that young could have that much pressure on you. But obviously, there is a role that the first spouse plays. And I'm saying, hypothetically, if Dina Titus wins, we don't see her husband taking over and as the party entertainer and coordinator, or expecting him to give up his job. But there is a role there, and it seems to be determined by the voters as well as by the person. But having this discussion out there, what do you think the voters and what you're hearing now, what do you think their perspective might be on the positions? Let's start with Elisa.
Well, I love you calling it first spouse, because I actually asked Dima that question. Somebody said, what advice would you give the next First Lady? And I said, well, what if it's a first man? And she just couldn't, even sort of get her mind around, what she would say to a first man. Because I think it is such as Lisa says, it's so much been created by the person, and we haven't, in this state, we haven't had a first man, and God knows if you'd even call them that. So other states have had them, and I don't know what they do, but I don't think they give up their jobs. I think there is a whole different expectation set by the voters if it were a man, or
if the tables were turned a little bit.
If the tables were turned. So, I think the expectation goes with the actual person. We had completely different expectations of Hillary than we did of Barbara Bush. So I think the voters shape their expectations based on the people that we're talking about.
Okay, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with more Nevada Newsmakers.
For a videotape copy of any Nevada Newsmakers program, call 775-857-2244. The tapes are $20 each, including shipping.
Since its creation more than a decade ago, the Southern Nevada Water Authority has focused on 3 goals: preserving water quality, improving water conservation in Southern Nevada, and meeting the community's current and future water needs. Through thoughtful planning, responsible management, and collaboration, it's succeeding. As we move into the 21st century, the authority continues to embrace sustainable water development and efficient water use. That's our promise to Nevada.
Happy Hour at the Peppermill.
Thanks to an ongoing commitment by America's mining companies, more than 2 million acres already have been reclaimed. To learn more about reclamation or other aspects of mining, visit nma.org. The National Mining Association.
Island Inkjet is now open on South Meadows Parkway. Island Inkjet will refill your inkjet cartridges in just 1 hour. We have the ink to precisely match over 240 cartridges, saving you up to 60% on the cost of buying a new cartridge. Our work is 100% guaranteed, and contrary to what you may have heard, refills do not void any printer warranties. You don't throw out your car when it runs out of gas. Don't throw out your cartridges. Refill them at Island Inkjet on South Meadows Parkway by Smith's.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers.
Welcome back to Nevada Newsmakers. We are discussing the role of women in politics and the men that go with them. The question before was, what is the expectations by voters of a first spouse? And Mary, how's your...
I don't think there's an expectation by voters. I don't think anybody goes to the poll and looks at it and says, well, now if I vote for this person, what is their spouse going to do for the state of Nevada? I think, as you said, that it becomes a defined role later on. Whatever that person takes and makes it, and it can be Tom or it could be Dawn, depending on who wins the election. And they will make it be whatever it is. There's currently, 8 governors that are females? Nobody turned around and said, I'm not voting for her because I don't like her husband. Voters don't have an expectation of supportive roles.
Although in presidential elections, I think that
well, yeah, because they come forward and campaign with them. You don't see I've never noticed, maybe they do, of Dima campaigning with Kenny. I don't even remember her being out there.
So then let's take the question, too. Is there a natural bias? 2 candidates, same party, in a primary. If both of the candidates stood for were very similar on the issues, would you tend to vote for the male or the female?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
Some of the other factors would come into play, of course, we would naturally go to the second level of information.
Right.
And that is community service, and that is I look at the family structure, I look at the involvement in the family. Those are some of the second layer that I would look at and evaluate. Mm-hmm. So, if you're looking at 2 candidates, same party, who would you vote for? We have to look at other layers of information. Exactly. And in this case, it might be that we are actually being pushed into evaluating some of these other factors whereby we might not look at them initially.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it was silly, actually, when she made the comments, all of a sudden people started lining with Dawn. Because all of a sudden it's like, don't tell me I can't go out there and be effective. It has nothing to do with me, but they're relating to Dawn now.
I don't think that Dima was saying at all, though, that Dawn shouldn't work, Dawn shouldn't have a career. She's saying that when you're working in Washington, D.C., and trying to get back and forth between Carson City, Nevada, and Washington, D.C., you're not going to have a whole lot of time in Nevada. to be doing the things around
Whatever
about
it
it,
is
other
they do.
than other than
Well, then her congressional
the campaigning
duties.
for her,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
doing her congressional duties. And with Congress, that's a constant campaign.
Sure.
They never quit.
Right.
But on that question of voting, I think it depends on your family background, because we have somebody that works in our office that was told, when in doubt, vote for the woman.
Yeah, and I was going to say, in my family, I have heard that several times. I'll always go if they're a choice and they're similar in philosophy. I'll always go.
Well, and having two women that have been in statewide
depends on your
positions.
family background. So somebody else is going to go, no way. you know.
Right.
Well, and women in politics in Nevada is nothing new. I mean, with Barbara Buckley as the majority leader of the legislature and as Dina Titus as the minority leader in the Senate, we already have strong role models.
We did back in the early 1900s. We had the who was the woman who just died recently, Wines, who had been in the assembly. We've had women. You know, Nevada's a little different from a lot of states.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Barbara Vikanovich, Frankie Sudell Pappas, statewide. Your mother, Patty Caffaretta. We've had statewide women for a lot of years. So it's not like it's a struggle nowadays for us to accept a woman, but what are the challenges that we are facing in the workplace that's different? Or what are you seeing as students come through Morrison University? What are you seeing in your female population that's different than your male population?
What I'm seeing is a strength, and I'm delighted to see this. It's the ability to communicate your vision, your dreams, your goals, and to involve your entire constituency, be it your family, your employer, your colleagues that you work with, in achieving those goals. These are my priorities. These are my goals. I'm going to communicate those to the people that are involved in achieving those, and thus they become more achievable. So whereas perhaps a traditional male student, the expectation was that my goals come first because I happen to be the head of household. Now what I'm seeing is I might not be officially head of household on the taxes. However, my goals and my visions put me in a position where I have to kind of rally my resources and go forth. And the women are able to articulate that and garner the resources they need to get where they want to be. And that's what I'm seeing, is an ability to really share that with the constituency.
Interesting. Now, obviously, running the Retail Association, most of your clients are men, I'm assuming.
Quite a few of them.
Yeah. How are you seeing is there a challenge for you running this organization with a male-dominated clientele?
In the beginning, I think there were, but in the beginning, a lot of us came in with a chip on our shoulders, too. And you found out that the softer you got and the more feminine you got and the more comfortable you got with yourself, the more comfortable men were with you, too. So in my youth, there was more of a drama about it because I created the drama. Now that I'm a little bit older, it's like, oh, get over yourselves. Now let's get down to the practical side of stuff.
And women are very good at creating drama.
I mean, the women's movement was a wonderful thing, but get over it. It does, and just be yourself and get along and do something. And state your goals and articulate your needs. And sometimes your needs are not always somebody else's, and sometimes your wants don't make any difference. And you have to learn to say yes and say no.
But I think a challenge is, I used to teach business communications at UNR, and the women students would say, well, feminism, we can do anything we want, and we don't have any barriers. And I think the challenge is, well, if that's true, then why do women still only make 70 cents on the dollar on what men make? I mean, if there really aren't barriers, and my students' answer was, well, they're choosing to go into low-paying professions. Well, okay, why? Why are they choosing that? So I think one of the challenges is we think we've accomplished everything and there aren't any barriers, and so we're not equipping our students to maybe overcome them, or it's become more subtle.
Interesting. Well, I think we've just tapped the iceberg here on the very top on these issues, and the male panel will come up and we'll get their perspective next. So we'll be right back with more Nevada Newsmakers.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
Welcome to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, just 10 minutes east of Sparks. We're proud that Walmart and other Fortune 500 companies have chosen Tahoe Reno Industrial Center to relocate their businesses. We have sites from under 5 acres to well over 500 acres, and with all of the amenities that every successful corporation requires. Welcome to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center. the largest industrial park in the world, and we're building economic prosperity for Nevadans.
The Nevada Beer Wholesalers encourages the responsible consumption of beer. The Nevada Beer Wholesalers Association are sponsors and participants in many community-based efforts such as school education programs, safe ride home, recycling programs, alcohol-free after-prom and graduation parties, safe boating campaigns, and designated driver programs. They are family-owned businesses employing 2,000 Nevadans. They also collect and pay the state excise tax. The Nevada Beer Wholesalers Association, delivering more than just beer.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we're joined by Wayne Frediani, who's the Executive Director of the Nevada Franchised Auto Dealers Association, Michael Hackett, who's with Alrus Consulting, and Bob Barengo, former Speaker of the Assembly.
So, guys, we had the all-girl panel, and we didn't talk about the Chicago White Sox. I'm sorry. So, any new perspectives that you heard today that was interesting?
The one that I heard was brought up by Susan, where she presented the potential for ethical conflicts should her husband be elected governor and should she get elected to Congress. And I think that's a very legitimate point, and that was one that I hadn't seen in any of the discourse that's been done on this issue so far.
Mm-hmm. But I think she's right, too, that it's a bookkeeping situation, just like in everything else that one has to look at. Sharon Engel's going to have the same problem with her Engel initiative petition. There are lots more rules required to cover things like this.
I agree. I think it's bookkeeping, but I also think there's perception involved as well, too. So I do think that that potential to blur issues, blur lines is definitely out there.
But I think the issue of a spouse, whether it's a male spouse or a female spouse of an elected official, is the right perspective. You don't look at the spouse necessarily. The spouse assumes a function there when his or her spouse is elected and becomes the office holder, and then they make what they want to do. I'm always reminded of Vivian Friedman's husband, who would always walk around and had spouse on it whenever he went to anything. He showed up quite a bit, but Vivian did what she did, and he just came along for the social events. Now, if Senator Titus is elected, no one is looking at Tom right and making questions about what Tom is going to do, as was pointed out earlier. So I really don't think it should be an issue.
Well, and I think the whole point here is it is a generational thing. My mother was brilliant at math, and in the 1930s was going to become a CPA. But she was laughed out of class because women didn't do those kinds of things. And we've seen dramatic changes, as Mary was pointing out, since the 60s. And I think that now, where you had a generation of women who came in being very tough to compete with men on a certain level, things have changed now. And I mean, there isn't any area that we don't deal with that have women in very responsible positions from the top down. We even have on television a female president, and I think that that's going to be very interesting to see how that spurs things towards this country having the first female president. And I would not be shocked to see it in the next 20 years.
You know, the voting public, I think you will still have the traditionalists versus the non-traditionalists. That's just the way things are, I think, still. Unfortunately, I think that in a lot of respects you're going to see there's obviously more registered voters in the older generation than there is the younger generation who may take the more traditional view that Dima is stating. But again, I think that'll be a voter decision. I don't think it'll have to do with whether she's qualified or whether she can do both jobs.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that there is a big play about this. Wherever you are, when Prime Minister Thatcher was there, no one ever heard about her husband, Dennis. But now that Prime Minister Tony Blair is there, there's a lot of talk about his wife. So why is it? I don't understand why that happens. It seems to be that when the woman is there, there is some discussion. And I think maybe there's some latent sexualism out there. I hate to say that, but maybe there is, that we want to talk about. Maybe the woman shouldn't be there. Those of us in this panel, I think, all agree that it is generational, and we think it's the way it should be. But others don't.
Well, it's also personality-driven. I mean, a Barbara Bush or a Laura Bush is no Hillary Clinton. And the headlines that Hillary made was because of her personality, not because she was First Lady. So there's a difference of modus operandi, if anything.
Well, I think the point that Bob just made is very accurate, that there is always going to be latent hostilities or latent attitudes, whether regardless of what steps forward we've made in terms of equality, whether it's on a gender basis, whether it's on a racial basis, what have you, there are still going to be those that cling to the old ways that think those are the best, regardless of the progress that we've made. So unfortunately, that's still going to be an underlying theme.
Yeah, very true.
All right. Well, I think we've covered this in as much depth as we can, and I think we've come to some interesting conclusions here. Wanted to bring up Jack Carter, who is planning to make a run against John Ensign if he can raise up some money, and he thinks that he can. But goes to Elko, and instead of going after Senator Ensign, he goes after President Bush. Is that a good strategy, Wayne?
Well, I think Jack Carter's a real stretch for this race. I think this is Senator Ensign's race. I don't think that he'll be successful in raising money to probably do this campaign as he would like. And somebody who's lived in the state of Nevada for 2 years, I don't think is probably real qualified to run for the U.S. Senate, in my opinion.
Well, he may be qualified, but he's not going to.
He may be qualified. I don't think his chances are very good.
I would guess that half of the 29 Democrats he talked to probably voted for Bush, since Elko went overwhelmingly for Bush. So, not a good strategy to go to Elko and beat up on Bush.
No,
it's not.
Although there have been candidates in the past who viewed Nevada as a place to move to go on to somewhere else. Meckling came to Nevada in the 50s and put a lot of money and tried to run for a Senate race. I think it was against Alan Bible, and he then won, but then he lost against the Nevada, and then Bible came back later on and won. We also had Pearl Mesta, who at that time was a Washington socialite. Her son came out to Nevada and tried to get a congressional seat. It didn't make it. We had a couple opportunities for governors. Remember the Silver Baron? Years ago, the Gold Baron wanted to run for governor. He moved into this state. It really is not a good state to kind of move into and try to take it over.
Do you remember the percentage that Ensign beat Bernstein by in the last go-around?
It's pretty overwhelming.
It was pretty overwhelming.
Yeah.
So with all the Republican problems, maybe Ensign will be down to 85.
Yeah.
We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers after this.
That's right.
South Reno's hotspot for food, fun, and friends is the Tamarack Junction. Enjoy great food 24 hours a day in the Dining Car Restaurant. For a quick bite and the best sandwiches in town, it's the Whistle Stop Deli. And for the best appetizers and menu selections and a large variety of cocktails, beers, and martinis, it's Sully's Sports Bar, Grill, and Nightclub. The Tamarack Junction is your junction for fun. South Virginia and Monty Ranch Parkway.
Island Inkjet is now open on South Meadows Parkway. Island Inkjet will refill your inkjet cartridges in just 1 hour. We have the ink to precisely match over 240 cartridges, saving you up to 60% on the cost of buying a new cartridge. Our work is 100% guaranteed, and contrary to what you may have heard, refills do not void any printer warranties. You don't throw out your car when it runs out of gas. Don't throw out your cartridges. Refill them at Island Inkjet on South Meadows Parkway by Smith's.
Reno's best dining values are all at one casino, the Pepper Mill. You can enjoy great savings on our popular specials. Pepper Mill's coffee shop offers daily lunch specials, low-carb dining, and all your favorite comfort foods. You'll find sensational lunch specials featuring Reno's freshest seafood, sushi, pasta, and more at Oceano. And early bird specials at Reno's Premier Steakhouse and Romanza Ristorante Italiano. The best values are at the Pepper Mill. Where are you dining?
Watch Nevada Newsmakers online at nevadanewsmakers.com.
Well, tomorrow we have the man that's running against Jimmy Carter's son, Senator John Ensign.
See you there.